Hi, this is Steve from Nothing Ventured, Nothing Gamed. And here in the States, we celebrate a holiday called Thanksgiving. And that's tomorrow, which means if you haven't gotten your gift shopping done, you may be too late. But just in case you're out of ideas, here are my top 5 picks of items that you can give your friend or family member that's into role-playing games. Now, as I said in the intro, I have a list of 5 things that I get if I'm in a pinch to think of something to get someone for holidays or some sort of event that is traditional to being done in gift giving. These are in no particular order, but I'm going to number them anyway because I feel like it. Number 1, dungeon maps. What dungeon is complete without a map to figure out where everything is and where you've explored and where you haven't explored and where your party's going to die next? So back in the day, I remember owning a Chessex map. It was a vinyl map that you rolled out, and you can use wet erase markers to draw whatever dungeons and other features you wanted to, and it also depended on how good you are drawing. But then you would just wipe away with a little bit of water, and then it was free to use for the next game. These things last a while, and they're not that expensive, and you can get your DM or aspiring DM one of these maps. They, for the most part, are flip sides, so there's hexes on one side and squares on the other. Other companies make these now. It's not just Chessex. But that's always a nice option for a DM, especially that you don't have to invest in a whole bunch of terrain. You could just draw it out with some markers you can get from the office store. Going into maps, companies like Paizo already make maps as well. Then they've gotten into the map making, the business of map making. And the interesting thing is if you use Paizo published works, if they reference a map that they produce, that lists it in the product page, and you can then go ahead and buy that map as well. So it's convenient for, I'm going to run this adventure, or I'm going to run this one shot or this Pathfinder Society mission. You can go ahead and get the according map, or they also sell these dungeon tiles, which are like little rectangle tiles, and they give you a whole bunch of tiles, and you can make a map out of it. Well, yet again, just because Paizo makes it doesn't mean you have to use it in their game. They're hex-based maps that you can just use wherever, and they fold up, and the tiles just stack up and to put them back in their little cardboard case they come in. Or if they're in the battle map, they fold up and they're actually laminated, so you can draw on them and make any adjustments that you need, for whatever game you're playing. It could be Dungeons and Dragons, it could be Pathfinder, Starfinder, any basic game that uses 1-inch hexes as because they're all 1-inch hexes for the ones that Paizo comes out with. You can even get there are now other companies that also get into the map making business. We actually, Jared and I had gone into, now we're not sponsored by any of these, so we're not sponsored by Paizo or Dungeons and Dragons or Chessex, but Jared and I had bought a while back for use on this, from Seafoot Games, has made a bunch of different maps. And the cool thing about this is that there are specifically other files which you can go into your local print shop and print them out and use them, and they're really nice quality files. They also send you one with lines on it and ones with squares, so you can use it for your game, and ones without squares, because sometimes you just don't want the squares. You just want the set piece of the map that maybe you want to put yourself as a reference as an overland map, and you don't necessarily need little individual squares. But because they're files, it can also be used in the variety of virtual tabletops or VTTs that are out there. Foundry, there's Roll20, there's Fantasy Grounds, and any of the ones that can import a file, you can probably import these files into it. And so now you can have this nice big map. You can have the VTT put its own hexes or squares on it if you want, instead of having to try to line them up. That's, I know, something that always irritated me, trying to line up those squares on a map that already had squares on it, which is a little irritating. So that kind of gets around the problem. We're not sponsored by them. We just happened to buy the product, and we thought it was a good product. So you gift it to, and you don't have to buy, there's a whole pack, or you can buy individual maps. Number 2. So let's say your GM or everyone already has enough battle maps coming out your ears that you don't need any more battle maps. You're well stocked on maps. The cool thing is, on top of your maps, you can put terrain pieces. Now, depending on how crafty the person you're giving this to, there's a couple of different options. Now, these are not this is not an exhaustive list, but these are just the ones that I think of when I think of these types of terrain pieces. WizKids came out with their Warlock Tiles line of products, which is literally they come in different sets. You need the tavern set, or you need the dungeon set, or whatever sets that you need to pick up, and they're literally tiles that lock together that are pre-painted, and the paint job is decent, but it's pre-painted. So there's virtually no work that has to be done to these once you open it up and open the box and ready to go. And some of the things that for the Warlock Tiles do have like lighted features, like LED features on them, which is kind of cool. Like there was one that's like a glowing arcane circle. And like I said, there's a variety of different types. You can get your tavern layouts, you can get your wood floors, you can get your cobblestone, you can get your dungeon tiles, you can even get like wall sections and doors and little other pieces that necessarily don't even connect. You can just have like a table and chairs and like a rack, and it's really easy. They're, for what you're getting, they're not that expensive. And yet again, now, since you already have the maps, this is a nice additive thing that you can put onto your maps to make the immersion just a little bit greater. The other thing is, like I said, depending on how crafty your person you're getting this for, there is a company out there that sells plaster molds where you can take plaster and pour it into these molds, and once it dries, you have an actual physical terrain piece. Now they have over, I think, 1,000 molds on their website that you can buy, and it's called from Hirschstart. And I'll put a link in the description below because I even have trouble spelling it. I'll put a link in the description of all the things that I'm listing off here today. But they come out as white, so that's plaster. So it's fairly durable, but it can still chip and break. But you have to paint them. Like, no, have to is a strong word. They're going to come out stark white, and to add that flair that the Warlock Tiles have from WizKids, you're going to want to paint them. I mean, like I said, how much painting you want to do and how detailed you want to go to, that's up to you. That's up to whoever you're getting this for. But it's a nice thing for those extra crafty people that they have the time and they want to paint something. You can even get them paints along with it if you want to paint. Like I said, they have arches. They have a variety of different terrain mold sets that you can get. And you can get individual sets, or you can pick up a whole pack of a specific theme of, like I said, they have quite a variety of these different molds. Yet again, now third option for this, for terrain, if someone or the person you're getting this for has a 3D printer, there's quite a variety of places you can get to that online through multiple people's Patreons or different people's websites and companies that are making 3D models for Fanny Stuff all the time. Whether it's miniatures, terrain, they have like maybe Monster of the Week, some I've seen. So if someone is really into 3D printing, whether FDM or micro SLA, there's something there for them as well. So that's always an option if the person you're getting for is really into 3D printing. Number 3, minis. All right, next. No. Miniatures. We play a game that has, you need to be standing in a spot and you have a range to attack something else, or something is coming at you and it's running towards you. Okay, well, we need to see some sort of distance. A lot of the games we play, distance matters. So you need to know where you are in relation to the monster, relation to the door, relation to your friend that's maybe passed out because the DM was a little too tilted and decided to run 3 shadows at your first level party. Maybe you need to help that person who's taking a nap. You can get a minis from a variety of places. Yet again, Paizo makes minis for their line of games, but that doesn't mean you have to use it for Pathfinder or for Starfinder. You can even get board games that have miniatures in them. I know that we just reviewed HeroQuest, and we're going to probably use those minis for a whole bunch of stuff. Then you have, yet again, we can go back to the 3D printing idea if you know someone who is 3D printing, or maybe you can go to one of these companies that 3D prints models for you, something like Hero Forge. You can buy a custom mini for your friend or for your DM to, just show their character. Paizo also has, Paizo has a line of miniatures, but also Dungeons and Dragons has their own line of miniatures for their system. Yet again, same thing. the Dungeons and Dragons Wizards of the Coast is not going to come down and goes, you're not using our pieces for our game. You need to. No one's going to come into your house. If you want to use it for a board game, you want to use it for a war game, go for it. But a lot of times that the DM's looking for that one specific monster, and they've always been saying, man, I don't have a big demon miniature, or man, I really would love that black dragon, that really gargantuan black dragon. Okay, then maybe everyone chips in and gets him that big old gargantuan black dragon, and you're all just then quivering in fear of when it's going to come out. But there is a ton of different resources online for getting miniatures. Even eBay for old miniature games, like they used to have a D&D miniature, like a miniatures game, like a war game, where you collect random miniatures and you'll be able to fight your army against someone else's army. They're basically D&D miniatures, but with a game attached to it. But that game is no longer, I believe, is no longer being printed. So a lot of that stuff found its way onto eBay because people sell stuff all the time. So, you always find some good deals on eBay or other selling platforms. Number 4, books. We all play an RPG, whether you have stuff on PDF, whether you have physical books, we're all into an RPG. These are all sold as books. Talk to the person that you're getting something for, because you may be buying something that is on pre-order that's coming out next month or whatever. And they're also having a pre-order. So you want to just coordinate a little bit. But if they've been mentioning a book that, oh man, I would love to get the special edition of that book. I have the regular edition and I can't find myself shelling out the extra however many dollars for that special edition book. So I know Paizo has special edition books. Beetle and Grimm makes special edition versions of Dungeons and Dragons modules. And those are really nice, but they sometimes get on the pricey side. If my DM was like, hey man, I would really love the Curse of Strahd done by Beetle and Grimm, then maybe I can chip in with all my other players and we get him. We can get him like the special edition stuff, something of a book, or maybe a different RPG that has a different take of a different game. Like maybe want to just try a game, or they maybe say, man, I would love to have a game where you can run around as Vikings in the future with laser guns. Okay, well, Runehammer Games just came out with a game called Viking Death Squad, and we check that video up here for our playthrough of that game. But they're not sponsoring us. It's just a fun game. But just listen to the person you're getting a gift for, and you may get inspired by finding an RPG book that's not the traditional game that you've been playing already. Before we get to number 5, I have an honorable mention for you. So don't say I never gave you anything. And the honorable mention is sites like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, or these crowd-funded sites that some companies go to publish their product. The reason it's not in the top 5 is sometimes through Kickstarter, I've heard things where people don't get what they get promised. That happens from time to time. Also, a lot of times is if the campaign is now, or maybe the campaign was 6 months ago, and you bought into it, specifically trying to get a gift for somebody because you thought it was cool, and they mentioned, man, I wish I had money to buy into that thing, and you bought into it for them, a lot of times those don't come out for years. So even though that you bought into that for them, they're not getting their gift for years, which they even may forget about it. I forget about Kickstarter stuff all the time, and I get a free gift in the mail, which is not free. I've already paid for it. I just forgot I paid for it. So that's an honorable mention. It's something you have to figure out if it's right for you to go into that. I've gotten some cool stuff on Kickstarter. I've gotten some mediocre stuff on Kickstarter. It's coming with a great assault, but I figured I'd mention it on here. And number 5, I would have my gamer card revoked from me if I didn't say what number 5 is. And it's dice. We're all gamers. We all roll dice. Whether it's in board games, RPGs, how much damage does the player take? How high did I roll to make that save? Did I critically hit? All dice rolls. And what kind of gamer would I be if I never mentioned dice? Now, you could have a friend that's got that one set of dice that they always roll and they don't collect anything else. They go, I don't understand this whole collecting dice thing. That's weird. And then you have the other friend, myself, that everywhere they go, they buy a new color just to say, I bought this color at that place. That happens at every convention. I have to buy at least one set of dice to commemorate the event. So you can always buy dice for people. Yeah. And always consider buying that one friend a set of dice that always roll bad. They may be cursed, but it could be their dice too. Keep in mind that we're partnered with Die Hard Dice, and we do have a discount code. So if you are in a pinch and you are looking for dice or dice accessories, you only have to get dice. You can get dice storage solutions. You can get dice trays, so the dice don't go flying off the table and being lost forever. So we have a discount code, and there's actually currently a sale going on Die Hard Dice's website. So anytime you use our discount code, the normal percentage is 10%. That's been increased to 15%. And our discount code is called Spicy NVNG. So you don't have to use it. You save a little money. We might make a little money. So those are my top 5 picks for items to get your friendly neighborhood gamer, RPG or DM player. But tell me what you think. What are the options that you think of when you're getting a gift for your tabletop RPG friend or family member? Hit us up on the comments below. And while you're there, hit the thumbs up button. But until next time, may all your die rolls be crits and may you always roll max damage.